Hi, everyone. Hello. My name is Janelle, and I work with a Edge Design Group. I'm sorry, it's been a long day. I have partnered with Adrian to produce this virtual summit. So I am so happy, and I am just proud of everyone who showed up. It's very encouraging, I will say that much. I did want to address something real quick before we get into the next session. We did have a session before this with Laura Maddox, keep your cool, stress, and anxiety management. Unfortunately, we were having some issues with the pre-recorded video. Um, but it will be available. We will post it so that way all these videos will be available for replay. So you guys will get that content and you will have that video to watch. It is a great conversation. So be on the lookout. We will post it and you guys will have that. So right now we're moving into the next session, which is keeping your team strong during uncertain times. I know that's a buzzword right now, pivot in uncertain times. And we really wanted to get some feedback from larger companies, people with larger staff, and figuring out how they were able to deal with the situation. So right now I have Rich Wilner with Affairs to Remember Catering. So Rich, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and we'll get right into the questions. And folks, if you have questions, please ask. I will make sure that I will ask those questions and they get answered. And remember, you can vote the questions up, okay? Go ahead, Rich.
Good afternoon, everyone. How you doing? Oops. Are you hearing Monica? Okay, can you all hear me? Excellent. I had to turn my own mic down. Well, thanks for having me here, and glad to be speaking on this subject. I have found myself being in a position. Often I ask myself, I didn't learn certain things in school. With the times that we're facing right now, there was no class for this. There was no way to identify what's happening. And these are the times that we depend on, honestly, being who we are. We are problem solvers. We're logistics experts. We are communicators. We are creative individuals. And I just find myself tapping into my talents and the resources and the support of my colleagues in the industry more than ever. And this is what has been serving us. All right, glad to be here. First question, let's hear it.
All right, awesome. Thank you so much. I really love that we are, um, logistical experts. I love that little point right there. I'm gonna have to quote you on that next time. Okay, so first question. At what point did you understand the severity of the situation? And at what point did you realize that action needed to be taken in order to take the right precautions?
We realized pretty quickly that this was going to get ugly and bad fast. We were watching what was happening not just in our market, but watching what was happening in the Southeast Asia market, and it only made sense for us that what was happening there was going to follow suit. We saw events really that I keep saying by March 7th, it was done. We very quickly saw it, and it just started canceling after that. We had national and international companies, so you kind of got to think, what are they doing and what are they saying? And if this is going to happen, it's all going to follow suit.
Mm.
We made some decisions. The owners of Affairs to Remember made some decisions early on, and that was to keep people in place. Whether this was going to be 2 weeks, we all wish, or whether this was going to be 8 months, they at that moment in time said, we are a family-owned business, and we have humanity and humility for our people, and that is how we are going to approach things. People really wanted some certainty. They didn't know what was going to be happening. So our message to people was, you're here, you're going to stay here, you're going to get a hot meal every day, a perk of working for a catering company, and you're going to be taken care
That's awesome. That's beautiful. Um, all right. Let's take the next question, which what precautions did you take? What did that protocol look like in terms of how did you, from beginning to end, in terms of if you added some new policies just within your staff, how you broke the news to your staff that events had needed to be rescheduled or canceled, just what was that process and what did that look like?
You know, we're a company that has many different departments, and each one of those departments needed to be handled differently. We immediately had people working in terms of safety and precautions. We had all of our people who did not need to be physically on our campus work remotely. That included our service department, a large part of our sales department. So a lot of people instantly started working remotely. We got technology in place. We've all become Zoom experts. A big thing for us was to keep people engaged, not just employed, but actually engaged. And I'm fortunate, in a way, I've continued to come to work every day. I'm in my office right now. And I have a home. My daily routine, other than being a parent managing a child at home, my daily routine hasn't changed that much. I get up, I get dressed, I come to work, and I'm still working, 10 or 12 hours a day. But being empathetic to people who have lost that routine, and for us in our industry, we are, for many of us, we are what we do. That is part of our identity. And I think the minute that as a manager that I tapped into that and realized that we're people, we're not accountants. We don't just check numbers. We don't just process invoices. We work together in the foxhole, I often call it. We're part of celebrations. We're in the hospitality industry. Our role is to be people pleasers and givers. And when you take that away from somebody, forget about an income. But when you take away, I'm a creative person, I'm an innovative person, we're social people, what do I do? So we set up Zoom meetings for our team. We have a weekly sales meeting. We still have a weekly sales meeting. I created a buddy system for our sales department. Everybody speaks to at least one person every day, and it's not about work, just that people are connected. How are you? How's your family? How's your dog? What home projects? We put together a program that held people accountable. I mean, we like to be accountable. We like deadlines. We like working under pressure. Maybe some of us more than others, but still, it's ingrained in us. So we came up with an Each One Teach One program where people had to share something that they learned from a webinar or any other program that they learned, how to put together a PowerPoint and share it with the rest of the department. Our culinary team, we typically do, I don't know, 50 to 60 innovative new products a year. In the last 3 months, we have innovated over 35 new items to our product line to pivot and adjust to the new world. So I think engagement is probably the biggest thing right after safety.
Right. I think you touched on a very important point too, when you're speaking about how to keep your employees engaged, not just employed, right? I think that's a huge component there, especially because we are in the events industry and we can't not only are we doing it, because we are social animals, we're humans and we want to interact, but we can't miss a beat in this industry either. So I love that component of bringing in that each one teach one program. Now I know that have you I know that you try to keep everyone there, but I'm sure that you've had to make some hard choices, imperfect decisions, because of everything. How did you go about, easing people into this transition of having to work remotely from home, or even having to furlough some employees, or, I don't know if you've had to let go anyone as of yet.
We reached out to everybody immediately because in the absence of information, people will either make things up or panic. So we very quickly got in front of everybody individually. Again, the hardest people was our remote team. Anybody who was on campus, our culinary team, our warehouse team, anybody from the sales administrative time, we regularly have kitchen meetings, whether they're recognition meetings or company announcements. So anybody who was here, we were able to tell them what was going on, put their mind at ease. Our service department, myself, and our director of service set up a Zoom call with everybody individually. How are you? What's going on? What do you need? Are you okay? And then letting them know the program that we had put in place. We let everybody know that we were applying for the PPP loan. We let them know as soon as we received word that we got, some dollars, which carried us through an 8-week period. And so other than we've kind of looked at payroll like a July in Atlanta, and just saying everybody should sort of expect summer wages.
Right.
And that was what we carried through. PPP knocked them up to traditional wages. We're required to, but we filed unemployment or partial unemployment for anybody who had diminished hours or wages. So really just doing our best to make sure people are taken care of financially and emotionally. There are services out there from the Giving Kitchen, Care 24, which provides services and guidelines. People were concerned about, hey, I've got a rash, but I don't want to go to the doctor's office, that there are resources for virtual medical care, just kind of sharing that information with them. And for some people, the idea of actually getting back to business, that's something that we're facing now, is people who have been remote and distant and in seclusion for so long. We are actually working on a program right now to get everybody back into our building so that it's not, when things open up,
Right.
it's so foreign. See people, meet people, learn the habits that we've developed around here. We all wear masks in the building. We walk around with cloths and things. We work in a clockwise formation to avoid people. Get used to seeing one another again and working in the new world. That's a big thing. Is we're at the point of acclimation right now.
Yeah, that's a great point. Going to So I know a lot of us are just anticipating the moment where, we're told we can go back, we can do events. And I'm sure at this point everybody just wants to go back to work, right? Um, what How is that transition going to look like in the office? I mean, I know that you do have your tastings, you have, with clients, but a big part as a manager is to make sure that your staff members are secure, right? So what does that transition look like when people do come back into the space? I know that you mentioned you have a program, but if you can touch a little bit more on that and what that looks like, and is that transition meaning, is the kitchen staff first? Was your service staff?
So that's a great question. So, and again, running multiple departments from sales to service to culinary to operations, everybody's got some basic things that they need to do. One is to follow guidelines that are established from the city, guidelines that are established from within our own organization, and guidelines that have been established in the venues that we work in. So there are those three things. Plus, I found having the team that's responsible for doing those tasks and making them a part of the task force to create those internal guidelines was key. This isn't being done unto you. You are creating the guidelines that address your concerns for your safety and your comfort. I thought that was a great idea that we had, was to get our service staff. What we did, another project that we worked on was called Reimagine Events. Everybody took 10 events that they had done previously, 5 events that they did previously, and 10 events that have yet to happen, and reimagine those events based on current guidelines. What did you change in terms of floor plan? What did you change in terms of service? What did you change in terms of the menu? So people have been very much engaged in what this new world was going to look like, because they've been working on it. They've been redoing floor plans and menus for parties that they did last year. And our culinary team, we've had to change the way we serve things. Even ourselves here, we've changed how we do things. But it's by doing that you're going to figure out the pitfalls for later. I think our team, we're taking their safety at the utmost into consideration. Nobody's going to get put into a situation that they're not comfortable doing. And as a leader, there are different sort of people. I started in this industry over 35 years ago, and I started as a busboy, and I've done every single job in our business. And to this day, it wouldn't be a weird thing to see me at an event in the kitchen. Not because I'm needed, because I'm comfortable being there, and I'm gonna do it. If a table needs to get set, I've had my head up many brides' skirts, helping them bustle. I mean, when we do our first parties, I'm going to be on site, just like anybody else. I'm not asking anybody to do anything I wouldn't do myself.
Right. I love that. I actually, all these questions that I have for you, you're just answering them. But I keep getting other questions that I want to ask you while you're talking. So, every management team does not all look the same, right? And a good team always starts with management, right? So what advice could you, hopefully most people have had these conversations already with the people that work for them, right? But moving forward, what advice would you give, business owners or managers, and how to have those difficult conversations with their employees, and, how to, it's one thing of keeping them engaged, but making it also like you have to be engaged too, right? So, what advice would you give, business owners, managers, in terms of how to have those difficult conversations and really how to push the engagement?
Be available, be physically available, emotionally available, communicationally available, check in with people. I don't have all the answers. I'm surrounded by some of the most talented people. I've got, Christy Cook, our director of sales. I've got Steve Moore, who I know was a speaker earlier today, and Sappho Barksdale, and Yossi Ben Hayim, and our executive chef Ahmed, and our director of service John. We and Jennifer Farmer, our assistant general manager, we meet regularly, not just to talk about the well-being of the company, but we check in on how are your people doing? Have you talked to them? What's going on? What are they working on? How are they feeling? What's happening? Because I have an accountability to the owners of the company, and I represent one point of view to them, and then I have an accountability to my employees. It's kind of like, I used to use this phrase with clients. I have an accountability with the client, to advocate for the client to the house, and I have an accountability for the house to advocate for the house to the client. And as a manager, you must always balance the well-being and the best interest of all parties. We're going to make mistakes. We're going to have moments of our own fear. How do you put on the brave face when you're fearful yourself? Look to your people. None of us are the mountain. None of us can do this alone.
I love that.
And if you know that as a manager, I need you guys, I'm counting on you as much as you're counting on me, then we all have an at stake in this.
That's perfect. That's perfect. I want to know a little bit more about what these reimagined events look like. Just, I'm curious, when, obviously, that I work at Edge, and I would be curious to see how we can do that as well, in terms of what events or what have people imagine events may or may not look like in the future. I think that's a great tool for a lot of people in the event industry to start implementing now. So again, it's not when, things start coming knocking at your door, it's you're already prepared. So you have all these different templates. So if that's okay, if you can share a little bit of what some examples are, what those reimagined events look like.
So I mentioned earlier that we are logistics experts. How many of us have done an event that has had a rain plan? It's not that different. And if you really had a strong rain plan, it took into account moving people around, additional costs for possibly doing that piece of business. Well, it's going to be a beautiful night. We're not planning on a tent. Well, that tent's going to add thousands of dollars, or flooring, or climate control, or power, or lighting. I mean, we do this. What's different about this is the unknown, and that things are changing by the day, and we have to know how to use our calculators to figure how many people we can put in 300 square feet in a 6,000 square foot ballroom. I mean, we're all getting challenged with that, but so do it, jump in. We're going to have hard conversations with our clients because my team is wearing masks at events. It's not if you want us to, we're doing it. It's part of our uniform. We wear a uniform. That uniform includes gloves and masks. You don't have to, that's on you. Looking at changing food service. There are no more preset salads. We did a training the other night where we literally executed on campus here as a practice run, a served dinner for 20 people, and carrying out the entree and leaving a position open to the right of the guest to put that entree down next to them with a plate cover on it. The guest is to then move the plate in front of their position, take the plate cover off, move it to their right position. The server then comes around, picks up the plate cover. Silverware is rolled from now on. If anybody wants a food station, we have plexi fronts that we've built and designed ourselves that you can reconfigure them in different ways depending upon the station. The idea of this build your own bar, now you go through the assembly line with a person. When there have been so many changes, we've added our pickup and delivery line. We've added essential box meals for people, not just employees, pantry items, Mother's Day breakfast, brunch deliveries, anniversary parties that can get delivered to you. I mean, it's been a wild.
No, yeah, some things
ride.
I've been really brainstorming over there. Rich, I actually think that I don't hear the bounce back anymore, so I don't think you have to mute me. Yeah, I think we're good. No, it's okay. Keep it on. Keep it on.
All right. Well, so what did you say?
No, never mind. You gotta mute me.
Okay. So we're good. So in the reimagined events, there's been from serve dinners to how do you serve people, picturing parties differently. I'll say something that I'm finding a little frustrating in so many industry calls. I'm glad people are coming together. What I'm still hearing from people though is they're trying to redo the same party that they've done in the past versus rethinking about it.
Hmm.
Why do we have cocktail hours? Why do cocktail hours exist? Well, in the social market, they often existed to give the couple a time to take photos, right? It was kind of there, or guests to get from the ceremony location to the reception and have something to do. But if we're looking to minimalize guest movement, and if we're looking to minimalize contact, why are we reimagining a cocktail hour? How about that paradigm changes? There are no more cocktail hours. Let's think differently. You know, in the corporate market, they're talking about these hybrid events, virtual events, things like that. I think the social market needs to get looked at in a very different way. Stop trying to redo what we've done in the past and come up with a new way and new traditions to create. If if you used to do a 200-person party and it was amazing, and it looks like in the next year we're going to be doing 50-person events, make it the most amazing 50-person event it can be. Make
Hmm.
it worthwhile for people to feel that they were included and they're that special and important to your lives. Make sure that they feel like, huh, should I bother to get up, get a dress, do all these things to go to this party? Yes, because they're going to be off the chain. I mean, they're going to be amazing events and they're not going to be happening all the time. They're going to become special events. So
Yes.
that's where I land in that world.
That's amazing. I'm mind blown right now, to be quite honest, because there's a lot of things here that, I mean, I just didn't really think about. And you just implemented so many ideas in my head right now that I can't wait to go back to the drawing board as well. So I know that we talked a lot about, reimagining different events and things like that. What's a trend in terms of how you serve food? What's that? I know there's some people who do elaborate food stations and things like that, past hors d'oeuvres. And I know that you have, the projector screen, but is there any other idea that you thought about in terms of how to display your food to still be somewhat aesthetically pleasing? Because the way that food is displayed is also pretty important.
Food is nothing if nobody's going to enjoy it. So we already saw again back in March, people went away from past hors d'oeuvres. We were there passing them, and the guests did not want them. They didn't want to engage with that. So, like, do a station where your hors d'oeuvres are presented to the guest. We're doing things in enclosed vessels, whether they're mason jars or mini containers or boxes. People want the thought, the perception that their meal is more secure, that it's had less points of contact. So it's doing that. I mentioned earlier, I don't really know if the idea of the cocktail hour, the past hors d'oeuvre is going to exist, but people still be hungry, right? Like I'm still hungry, so give me something. So what if when I walk in, I'm actually handed a little snack pack?
Oh, okay.
Or, here's my customized mask and my snack pack.
That's
Great.
cute.
This is a new way of doing something. So I just think there's a lot of things that we need to come out of the box with. Um, there are so many dietary considerations out there. That's not going to go away. We still need to be mindful of allergies, personal dislikes. So it's going to become, in my mind, we're working on this idea of tablet ordering. It's not quite like going to a restaurant, but every table would have a device that they can communicate with the banquet captain and maybe ask questions, whether it's, we would like more water at this table, or, the salad is delicious. Are there nuts in it? That thing can happen where there's engagement but less physical contact. Going to stations and it being like, you go to like Willie's line, this guy's doing one piece of it, then this guy's doing it, and your meal moves down the line and is still customized for you. The server's protected through a plexi, and you're still able to customize your product. So these are a lot of things we're doing.
That's, again, I was just about to ask you, what do you envision corporate events looking like? They're a lot different than weddings, you know. From my experience, a lot of corporate doesn't necessarily do plated dinners. You know, they do a lot of stations and past foods, and they do invest a lot more into elaborate, designs for their display, for their food display. So I think that kind of touches on it, but I'm going to ask you that question anyway because it's in my head, and someone who I personally love doing corporate events. So I would like to be able to go back to some of my corporate clients and say, hey, well, this is also a great idea, brought to you by Affairs, in terms of how you can really, reimagine. We're going to add that to the list of words for this year: pivot, uncertain times, and reimagine. I like that. So if you can just, touch a little bit on what you think, serving food at corporate events is going to look like.
Well, the first thing I want to say is don't accept no as an answer from your client who says, we're not doing that summer retreat this year. We're not doing that recognition event this year. We're not doing our holiday event this year. So that's the first thing before we even get into the reimagined events that I want to bring up, because it's our job to think of, well, is your staff not important to you? I mean, I know they are, and you used to do a holiday party and they're feeling more disconnected. Why don't we do a picnic box? Why don't we do, if you don't want to have them in the office or something, there are still ways for us to entertain your clients or your employees or something like that. So the first thing is, don't accept no as an answer, because you can't reimagine nothing. I've got one event that we would do at the History Center every year. Large party, 600-700 people. And knowing that we have a large campus, our thought is to break that down into much smaller groups and move them all around the grounds. And if we can have a continuously moving crowd or groups, small group, and offer them something unique and different in each one of those places, then instead of the client just saying, you know what, we can't do it based on the size. Yes, you can. If we figure out how to do it, then when the no, we're not doing it comes up and you're presenting them with a viable option, at least there's something for them to consider. So we're hearing more and more served dinners are going to come into place. Great, bring them on. That's fine. We do those all the time. But I really think it's going to be more about, do you customize things? We're doing a box right now that has a mason jar and all these ingredients that the guests can add themselves. It comes completely contained. So where that luncheon would have in the past been a served meal, now it's a boxed meal, and it's beautiful. It's not this little clamshell thing. It comes in a nice container. Get people thinking of more and more things. If you think about safety, ease, and logistics, then you'll have a product.
Well, Rich, thank you so much for taking the time to speak to us. I think everyone who is listening to this is probably just as, again, mind blown as I am right now. This has just planted so many seeds, I think, in everyone's mind in terms of how to do things differently. So many ideas, and you're absolutely right. Do not take no for an answer. We have to advise them to do something differently, to create unique experiences, not just one unique experience for one event, but multiple unique experiences in one event, and I think that's just a fabulous idea. And You might have to trademark it because I'm gonna take it and run with it. That was just amazing. I love that. So Rich, we are at our time. Again, thank you so much. I appreciate it. I am like literally looking at my notes right now. I'm just like jotting down notes as you speak, and I am just thankful that you are able to be here with us today. So we appreciate you. If you want have any last words closing out before I end the live, go right ahead.
Well, thank you for including me. This was one webinar I was happy to be a part of, and for giving me a reason to actually put on a button-down shirt. I haven't done that for a while, and to glue my hair down. I think I showed you guys this the other day. This is what I really look like. So I'm all coiffed, but I'm growing a mullet. So you are all fantastic people. You're brave. You're imaginative. Things we come up against conflict in what we do every day, and we are negotiators. We don't think of ourselves that way. We think of ourselves as just being creative, but you're all so smart and talented, and I wish you all great luck and safety during this time.
Oh, thank you.